Hi everyone, we're Mimicker, here to introduce all kinds of knowledge, even the stuff we didn't know about.
And today, we're diving into a creature that, well, frankly gets overlooked a lot.
That's right. We're taking on an animal that you, our listeners, specifically asked us to explore, the bush pig. And let me tell you, get ready to have some of your ideas about pigs that be challenged a bit.
Definitely. This animal is full of surprises. It really challenges what many people think they know.
We're talking about the bush pig. Potamochoerus larvatus is the scientific name.
Mm-hmm. Also known as the masked pig, sometimes the jungle pig.
Right. And it's a truly remarkable member of the Suidae family. That's the pig family.
Yep, the whole pig and hog family.
And honestly, it's a creature that just embodies incredible resilience and complexity, too, in the natural world.
It really does.
So our mission today, digging into all the material you've provided us, is to pull out the really important insights.
Those key takeaways, the surprising facts.
Exactly. And maybe the bigger picture stuff, too, offering you a direct route to being, properly informed about this fascinating animal.
Sounds good. Let's get into it.
Okay. So, the bush pig. When you first encounter one, or even just see a picture, its appearance immediately grabs you.
It does. It's not your typical farm pig image at all.
No way. Forget that. This is a robust, wild animal, built for survival. They typically measure, about 100 to 150 centimeters long?
Yeah, roughly 3 to 5 feet. And they're stocky.
Very stocky, weighing anywhere from 50 up to maybe 115 kilograms.
That's well over 250 pounds. Solid muscle, really.
Imagine that compact, powerful package just perfectly adapted for pushing through dense African bush.
And their coat color adds to that camouflage. It's incredibly varied.
It really is. You see everything from this pale gold.
Yeah.
It almost seems like it would melt into savanna grassland, right?
Exactly. Blends right in. Then you get these deep reddish browns all the way to a sort of grayish black.
It's not random, is it? It's brilliant natural camouflage. Let them just disappear into all sorts of different habitats.
Precisely. But the feature that really stands out, the one that gives it the masked pig name.
Ah, yes, the mask.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Their face is usually lighter, right?
Yeah.
With these really prominent white markings.
Yeah, particularly around the eyes and down the snout, creates this really striking look, almost mystical, you could say.
It does. Adds to the whole mystique, like something out of an old story.
And the males, they have even more going on facially.
Right. They got those bony bumps. Protuberances, I think is the term.
Bony protuberances, yeah, and these sort of warty swellings on the snout.
Plus those upward curving canine teeth. They can get quite long and look pretty formidable.
Definitely weapons. The females, though, they lack those really prominent facial features. They're still robust, but built differently.
And they have 6 pairs of teats ready for their litters.
Correct. Ready to nurse the young.
It's amazing how all those physical details, the coat, the mask, the tusks, just speak directly to how they live and survive.
Absolutely. And their distribution, where they live, really hammers home that adaptability. They're native across a huge part of eastern and southern Africa.
So we're talking places like Kenya, Tanzania,
South Africa, Zimbabwe, a really wide range of habitats within those regions, too.
But it goes even further than mainland Africa, doesn't it? There's this interesting island presence.
That's a really key part of their story. Their presence on islands like Madagascar, the Comoros, Mayotte.
In the Indian Ocean.
Exactly. And the genetic studies you mentioned, they're quite conclusive on this. These aren't native populations.
So humans brought them there.
Almost certainly. Introduced by early human settlers, probably as a food source, maybe between 1,000 and 5,000 years ago.
Wow, that long ago.
Yeah, it's an ancient introduction, not a natural spread. And the result is that the bush pig has become quite invasive on these islands.
Invasive, meaning they cause problems for the native wildlife.
Big problems. They don't have the natural predators there that they do in Africa, so their populations can explode. They compete with native species, damage habitats. It's a significant ecological threat to those unique island ecosystems.
We definitely need to circle back to that invasive aspect later. It sounds critical.
Absolutely. But just to set the baseline for now, the IUCN, the International Union for Conservation of Nature,
they currently list the bush pig as least concern.
Correct. Which reflects that broad distribution and overall resilience we talked about. Despite local pressures, they are, as a species, doing relatively okay across their native range.
Least concern. It's such a fascinating label because, as we're about to dig into, it definitely doesn't capture the whole picture, especially their relationship with us humans.
Not at all. It hides a lot of complexity.
This isn't just any pig, like we said. It's a true survivor, Incredibly adaptable. The material shows they can thrive in just this astonishing range of places.
It really is remarkable.
I mean, from humid lowland rainforests
Mhm.
all the way up to montane woodlands. High altitude stuff.
And even higher. Get this, they've actually been recorded at elevations up to 4,000 meters.
4,000 meters on Mount Kilimanjaro.
That's right. Imagine a pig navigating icy slopes at that altitude.
It completely blows away the typical image of where a pig belongs.
It's a profound testament to their ecological flexibility, that ability to cope with such different environments, from sea level right up to these extreme altitudes.
So what drives that? Is there a preferred habitat, even with all that flexibility?
Well, when you look closer, they do show a clear preference for areas with dense vegetation and soft soil.
Okay, dense vegetation and soft soil. Makes sense. Like along rivers.
Exactly. Riparian forests, wetlands are ideal. Even the edges of farmland where the soil is often richer and easier to dig.
And why are those features so important? The dense cover and soft soil.
The dense vegetation is crucial for cover. They need places to rest during the day, hidden from the sun, hidden from predators.
Right, because they're mostly active at night.
Primarily nocturnal, yes. And the soft soil is absolutely essential for their main way of finding food rooting.
Ah, using that strong snout to dig things up.
Precisely. That disc-like snout is perfectly designed for turning over soil to get at roots, tubers, bulbs, all sorts of underground goodies.
But that preference, especially for farmland edges, that's where the conflict comes in, isn't it?
That's exactly where it arises. Their adaptability, their need for easily workable soil, brings them right into contact and often conflict with human agriculture, a major theme.
A recurring theme, it seems. And you mentioned their nocturnal lifestyle, so mostly hidden during the day.
Yes, for the most part, it's a hidden existence. They come alive after sunset, using the darkness for cover. During the heat of the day, they'll be laid up in thick undergrowth or deep woodland shade.
Though you might occasionally see them out near dawn or dusk.
You might, especially in cooler seasons or perhaps in areas where there's less human activity, when the temperatures are a bit more forgiving.
And they build nests. That's interesting.
They do. Quite resourceful builders. They use vegetation branches, leaves, grasses to construct these nests, particularly when it's rainy or cold.
For warmth, I assume. And maybe protection.
Both. Warmth is key, especially for piglets. And the nest provides some extra protection from predators and the elements.
And then there's the mud wallowing. It looks like they enjoy it, but there's more to it than that, right?
Oh, much more. It's a really vital activity for their health.
So not just cooling off.
Cooling off is definitely part of it, especially in hot African climates. But the mud serves a critical function in parasite removal.
How does that work?
Well, the thick mud acts like a natural abrasive layer. It helps dislodge ticks, mites, other external parasites that can really bother them.
So when the mud dries and flakes off.
It takes the parasites with it. Plus, the dried mud can form a bit of a protective barrier against biting insects, maybe even sunburn.
Wow. So it's hygiene, pest control, and temperature regulation all in one.
Exactly. A simple behavior with multiple crucial biological benefits really contributes to their survival.
It's amazing how something seemingly simple is so important. Now, they might be elusive, hiding during the day, but they aren't solitary animals, are they?
Not at all. They're actually highly social. They live in these structured family groups.
Which are called sounders. I love that term.
Hounders, yes. Typically around, say, 6 to 12 individuals, though sometimes you can see larger groups.
And there's a hierarchy within the sounder.
Definitely. Usually led by a dominant male, the main boar, and a leading female, along with other females and all the juveniles. It's a cohesive unit, not just a random gathering.
And here's something the sources highlighted that seems really unique, especially for pigs. The role of the dominant male with the young.
Yes, this is genuinely fascinating. The dominant boar plays a significant active role in protecting the piglets.
Which is unusual.
Very unusual among most wild pig species. Often males have little to do with the young after mating. But here, the boar is actively involved in defense.
So it's not just the mothers protecting them.
No, it's a communal effort. Both male and female adults in the group form these strong collective defense responses against predators.
That must make a huge difference to piglet survival rates.
Absolutely. From an evolutionary perspective, this communal care likely provides a massive advantage. It increases the chances of the young surviving, which boosts the overall fitness of the group.
It suggests the benefits of everyone pitching in outweigh the costs.
Precisely, especially given the number of predators they face. Now, these sounders, they tend to stick to a relatively defined area, right?
Yeah, their home range is usually quite compact, maybe 0.5 to 6 kilometers, something like that.
That's the typical range, covering their main foraging and resting spots. And their territories, which are a bit larger, maybe 3 to 10 square kilometers.
They generally don't overlap with the other group's territories.
Generally not, which suggests a pretty sophisticated system for, dividing up resources and maintaining social order, probably using scent marking and vocalizations to signal boundaries.
Minimizes direct fights between groups.
Exactly. It's an efficient way to manage space.
A really well-orchestrated social system. So given they're active at night in dense habitats, how do they communicate and navigate?
Well, their senses are key. The sources emphasize their acute hearing and incredibly developed sense of smell.
Essential for finding food in the dark and detecting danger.
Absolutely critical. Their eyesight, though, is relatively poor compared to those other senses, so they're really relying on sound and smell to build a picture of their world.
And they use vocalizations, too.
Oh, yes, they have a varied repertoire. Different snorts might signal alarm. Grunts are probably for general communication within the group.
And alarm growls for immediate danger.
Distinct alarm growls, yes. A clear warning signal.
How about when males have disputes over territory or dominance?
That's when communication gets more physical, but it's still quite ritualized. It's not usually an all-out brawl to the death.
What does that look like?
First, they'll often erect the bristles along their backs, trying to look bigger and more intimidating.
A threat display.
Exactly. Then they might engage in these pushing matches, using their foreheads or clashing those tusks together, often aiming for the head and shoulders. It's like a stylized wrestling match.
And the purpose of keeping it ritualized.
It establishes dominance and settles the dispute with less risk of serious injury. It's a way to test strength without potentially killing off valuable members of the species. Efficient conflict resolution, really.
Makes sense. And what happens to the young pigs as they grow up? Do they stay with the group?
It differs for males and females. Young males, when they reach maturity, generally disperse. They leave their birth group.
To find their own territory or maybe join another sounder?
Precisely. It helps prevent inbreeding and reduces competition within the original group.
But the females tend to stay.
Females usually remain in their natal group. They stick around, which strengthens the core social unit and means they can contribute their experience to raising future litters. Communal care again.
It's a smart strategy for long-term group survival. Okay, let's talk diet. What exactly are these adaptable creatures eating? Given the rooting behavior and wide range of habitats, I bet it's diverse.
Incredibly diverse. They are true omnivores. They'll eat almost anything.
So the digging, the rooting, that's mainly for
Fruits, tubers, bulbs. That forms a really significant, reliable part of their diet, accessible pretty much year-round if the soil is right.
But it doesn't stop there.
Not at all. They also eat a huge variety of berries, fruits when they're in season, nuts, different herbaceous plants, which actually makes them important seed dispersers.
Oh, right. Eating fruit and then depositing the seeds elsewhere.
Exactly, helping forests regenerate. And here's a really cool detail the sources mention.
One.
In some forests, they've actually been observed following troops of primates, like baboons or monkeys,
Following them. Why?
to pick up any fruit the primates drop from the trees.
No way. That's incredibly clever. Opportunistic.
Very. Leveraging what other species are doing. Beyond plants, they also eat invertebrates, insects, worms.
Small animals, too.
Small vertebrates, yes. Rodents, reptiles if they can catch them, and they're not above scavenging. They'll eat from carcasses if they find them.
So, bit of everything.
Yeah.
But there's the agricultural side.
And this is the crux of the human conflict issue. They have a particular fondness for agricultural crops.
Like what specifically?
Things humans value highly. Potatoes, maize, sugarcane, tomatoes. The list goes on.
And because they live in groups and are powerful diggers?
They can cause extensive damage to fields, wiping out large areas of crops, sometimes overnight, which is exactly why they get labeled as serious agricultural pests in so many places.
You can see why farmers would view them as a major problem.
Oh, absolutely. The scale of the problem, particularly for subsistence farmers who depend directly on those crops, it can be devastating.
It's not just a few plants nibbled here and there.
Not at all. We're talking potential wipeouts of entire fields. It directly impacts food security, income, puts immense pressure on vulnerable communities.
That ability to switch from wild foods to crops really highlights their opportunism, but also fuels that conflict.
It's the primary driver of human-wildlife conflict across much of their range, without a doubt.
It really paints a picture of this animal that's both incredibly successful in its own right, but also, yeah, quite problematic for many people.
Yeah.
Let's shift focus slightly to their life cycle. Birth, survival. How does reproduction work?
Well, the sources indicate a polygynous mating system.
Meaning one dominant male mates with multiple females.
Typically, yes. The dominant boar usually monopolizes mating opportunities within the sounder. He'll actively drive off rival males to ensure he's the one passing on his genes.
Is there a specific breeding season?
It usually aligns with the seasons, oftentimes from the late dry season into the early rainy season.
Why then?
It's strategic timing. It ensures that when the piglets are born, usually after the rains have started, there's a flush of new vegetation and abundant food available.
Gives the young the best possible start.
Exactly. Maximizes their chances. The gestation period is around 120 to 127 days.
About 4 months then.
Roughly 4 months, yes. And litters are typically smallish, maybe 1 to 4 piglets.
So sometimes more.
Occasionally up to 6, but 1 to 4 is more common. And when it's time to give birth, the female isolates herself.
Leaves the sounder temporarily.
Yes, she'll find a secluded spot, maybe in dense thickets or even use a hollow log or tree base, and she builds a nest there specifically for birthing.
A safe, hidden nursery. And the newborns.
They're tiny, about 700 to 800 grams, like a small bag of sugar.
Wow, vulnerable.
Very. But they're born with a crucial advantage, their coat. It's this soft brown fur, but it has these very distinctive yellowish stripes running lengthways down their body.
Stripes, like little watermelons.
Sort of. And it's not just for looks. It's incredibly effective camouflage.
Helps them blend into the undergrowth. Dappled sunlight.
Perfectly. Breaks up their outline, makes them much harder for predators to spot. It's vital in those first few vulnerable weeks.
Do the stripes stay?
No, they're temporary. They usually fade and disappear within a few months as the piglets grow and their coat changes.
So these tiny striped piglets are born, and then that communal protection kicks in.
Exactly. This raises that important question. How does this communal defense really benefit the group? From the moment they rejoin the sounder, those piglets are part of a fiercely protected unit.
With the dominant male and other adults all involved.
All involved. Forming coordinated defenses against threats. This collective vigilance massively increases the piglet's survival odds against predators like leopards or hyenas. It's critical early on.
How quickly do they develop?
Pretty rapidly. They're typically weaned off milk between 2 and 4 months.
Starting on solid food then.
Yes, transitioning to foraging with the group. By around 6 months old, they're becoming more independent, foraging actively, though still very much part of the sounder and under its protection.
But when do they become adults, reproductively speaking?
Sexual maturity comes a bit later, usually between 18 and 21 months old. That's when they're ready to potentially breed themselves.
That combination of camouflage, rapid development, and that amazing communal care, it must contribute to their overall success.
Definitely. And it leads to a relatively long lifespan for a wild pig. Up to 15 years in the wild is possible.
And even longer in captivity.
Yeah, in a protected zoo environment, free from predators, and with consistent food, they can exceed 20 years. Shows their underlying robustness.
Okay, so even with all that care and toughness, they do have natural predators. Who are the main threats?
Well, humans are a major predator through hunting, of course.
Right. But in the natural world?
Large carnivores are the primary threat. Lions, leopards, spotted hyenas, they're all capable of taking down an adult bush pig.
And for the younger ones?
Besides those, you also have threats like large pythons. A big python could certainly take a piglet or even a juvenile.
So what happens when a bush pig is threatened or cornered? They don't just give up, do they?
Absolutely not. This is crucial to their survival. Injured or threatened bush pigs can be incredibly aggressive and dangerous.
They fight back.
Fiercely. They are not animals to be messed with. Their tenacity is legendary among people who live alongside them or hunt them.
I read that hunters sometimes call bush pig hunts poor man's leopard hunts.
That comparison comes up a lot. It speaks to how challenging they are to hunt their nocturnal habits, their elusiveness.
And that potential to turn and fight back if wounded or cornered.
Exactly. It highlights their defensive power and sheer will to survive. They can inflict serious injuries with those tasks.
That aggression isn't just random then, it's a core survival tool.
Absolutely. Honed by evolution. It makes them a tough meal, even for Africa's top predators. But beyond just surviving and defending themselves, bush pigs play important roles in the ecosystem, roles that sometimes get lost in the pest narrative.
Like the seed dispersal we mentioned.
Seed dispersal is a big one, yes. By eating fruits and moving around, they help regenerate forests. But also, they are a significant prey source.
Food for the lions, leopards, hyenas.
Exactly. They're an integral part of the food web, helping sustain those iconic carnivore populations. Their digging, too, while problematic for farmers, can actually benefit some ecosystems by aerating the soil,
Turning it over, mixing nutrients.
potentially improving soil structure and water infiltration in some contexts. Though, again, that's the very behavior that causes so much conflict with agriculture. It's a double-edged sword.
Which brings us right back to that complex, often fraught relationship between bush pigs and people. And that least concern status, it still feels like a paradox.
It really does. Because you have habitat loss impacting them, you have significant hunting pressure in many areas. Yet, overall, they remain widespread and adaptable. How does that work?
That's the question.
And what's fascinating and maybe counterintuitive is that human-modified landscapes can actually be good for bush pigs sometimes.
How so? You mean like areas that aren't pristine wilderness anymore?
Exactly. Things like secondary forests growing back after logging, bush regrowth, even agroforestry zones where farming is mixed with trees. These places can sometimes support larger bush pig populations than untouched habitats.
Why would that be?
Often, it's because these areas offer new food sources, especially crops. And sometimes, paradoxically, fewer natural predators. It creates a sort of subsidized environment for them.
So they adapt to the changes we make to the landscape, sometimes even benefiting from them.
Precisely. It highlights their incredible flexibility in the face of what we call anthropogenic pressures, human-caused changes. But that adaptation, again, often directly clashes with human interests.
Leading back to the hunting pressure outside protected zones.
Huge pressure, especially in farming regions or areas with high human populations. The sources give stark examples, places like the DRC and Malawi,
Where they're considered among the absolute worst crop pests.
yes, causing major economic damage and threatening food security for local communities who rely heavily on those crops.
And farmers have to try and control them somehow. Traps, poison.
Traps, poison, organized culls where groups try to reduce the numbers in an area. All common methods.
But you mentioned they're hard to get rid of.
Incredibly difficult. Maybe impossible to eradicate completely. Their nocturnal, secretive nature makes them hard to find and target effectively.
And they reproduce relatively quickly.
They have a strong reproductive capacity. Populations can bounce back surprisingly fast, even after major control efforts. It often feels like a relentless cycle for the farmers involved. Damage, control, damage, control.
A really tough situation with no easy answers.
No easy answers at all. It requires ongoing, complex management strategies that try to balance farming needs with wildlife reality.
And adding another layer to this conflict, disease.
Yes, that's another significant dimension. Bush pigs are suspected carriers of several diseases that can affect livestock.
Like what kind of diseases?
Things like trichinosis, which is a parasitic worm, African swine fever, devastating for domestic pigs, and trypanosomiasis, or sleeping sickness.
So they can transmit these to farm animals.
That's the concern. It poses a direct risk to livestock health and adds another economic burden for farmers. In some areas, this risk is considered so high.
They offer bounties for hunting them.
Exactly. Bounties are sometimes used as an incentive to reduce bush pig numbers, aiming to limit both crop damage and potential disease spread.
Wow. It seems like the deck is stacked against them in agricultural areas. But then there's this fascinating cultural twist.
Yes, a really important counterpoint. In some regions, cultural factors have actually provided indirect protection.
You mean the religious dietary laws?
Primarily, yes. In Muslim-majority communities, particularly in parts of East Africa and Madagascar, the Islamic prohibition on eating pork means there's simply less reason to hunt bush pigs for meat.
So a religious taboo acts as a kind of conservation tool.
Effectively, yes. It's a form of passive protection that can be surprisingly significant. It demonstrates how cultural beliefs can intercept with conservation outcomes, sometimes quite powerfully.
That's amazing. But is that protection stable?
That's the concern. If we connect this to the bigger picture, as societies change, as traditional taboos perhaps weaken with modernization or increase contact with other cultures, and as land development continues,
That passive protection might disappear.
it could diminish, yeah, leading to potentially increased hunting pressure where it didn't exist before. It just highlights how complex conservation is. Cultural factors matter just as much as ecological ones.
A really thought-provoking intersection. And it leads us to another critical part of their story, the places where they aren't supposed to be. The invasive populations.
Right. The sources are very clear on this. Bush pigs are not natal to Madagascar or the Comoros Islands.
They were brought there by humans thousands of years ago. We established that.
Correct, likely as a food source by those early settlers, and the consequences have been huge.
Because they lack natural predators there.
Exactly. They've become widespread, their populations have grown rapidly, and they've become a serious invasive species.
Threatening the native wildlife and plants. Madagascar especially has so much unique biodiversity.
It does, much of it found nowhere else and already under pressure. So introducing an adaptable, destructive omnivore like the bush pig has had major negative impacts on native species and entire ecosystems.
So what's being done about it? Can anything be done?
Well, current efforts in Madagascar, for example, often involve things like fencing off critical protected areas to keep bush pigs out and trapping within those reserves to reduce numbers.
But that raises a huge ethical question, doesn't it, if they've been there for thousands of years?
It absolutely does. Should the focus be on trying to eradicate them completely, which is incredibly difficult and expensive, or should they now be accepted, however grudgingly, as part of the new ecosystem?
A conservation dilemma.
A profound one. Eradication aims to protect the unique native biodiversity that evolved without them. But pragmatically, after millennia, complete removal might be impossible, and attempts could cause other problems. It forces really tough choices about conservation goals versus practical realities and limited resources.
A real conservation tightrope, as you said. Not simple at all. And it makes you think about their deeper history, their evolution. Where do they fit in the bigger pig family tree?
They belong to the genus Potamochoerus, and their closest relative is the red river hog, P. porcus.
Which looks quite different, much redder.
Visually very distinct, yes. Historically, people debated whether they were just subspecies of the same animal, regional variations.
But now they're considered separate species.
Generally recognized as distinct species, yes, based on those differences in appearance, body structure, and where they live geographically.
But genetics throws a curveball.
It does. Recent studies looking at their whole genomes, their entire genetic code, have found something really interesting. Evidence of significant gene flow between bush pigs and red river hogs.
Gene flow, meaning they can still interbreed successfully.
It suggests what scientists call incomplete reproductive isolation. Even though they've diverged into distinct species, the genetic barrier between them isn't totally sealed.
Okay, let's unpack that. What does it mean for evolution?
It implies they're on separate evolutionary paths, but those paths haven't diverged so completely that interbreeding is impossible, at least occasionally where their ranges might meet. They're like very close cousins who haven't entirely cut ties genetically.
Fascinating. So the species boundary is a bit fuzzy.
Somewhat porous, yes. And these genetic studies suggest their divergence happened relatively recently in evolutionary time, probably less than 500,000 years ago.
Which is recent for species splitting.
Remarkably recent, it actually challenges some older ideas about how quickly African pig species diversified. Suggests maybe a faster split than we thought.
Then what about subspecies within the bush pig group?
That's still debated among scientists. Different regional forms exist, but whether they warrant formal subspecies status is contentious. For conservation, the IUCN currently treats them all as one unit, Potamochoerus larvatus.
And genetically, they're quite distinct from domestic pigs, right? Different chromosome numbers.
Very distinct. Bush pigs have 34 chromosomes, domestic pigs have 38. That's a fundamental difference, showing separate evolutionary lineages going way back.
So those stories you sometimes hear about them breeding with escaped farm pigs.
Anecdotal reports exist, but the genetic evidence just doesn't support it. They are truly a distinct wild species.
That genetic picture is so much more complex than you'd first think. It helps to compare them to their other African relatives, too, just to place them.
Good idea. Context is key.
Okay, so first, the red river hog. Closest relative, genetically similar, but looks different, smaller, bright red coat, those long white ear tufts, very rainforest focused.
Right, West and Central Africa mainly. Morphologically distinct, even with that gene flow possibility.
Then the warthog. Everyone knows warthogs. Totally different look, the warts, adapted for dry savannas.
Diurnal too, active during the day, mostly grazers, and males often solitary, unlike the social bush pig. Different niche entirely.
Then there's the wild boar, Suscrofa, found in North Africa, much closer to domestic pigs.
Different lineage, different chromosome count, different look and behavior compared to the bush pig.
And finally, the big one, the giant forest hog.
Ecological minor, the largest African pig, a real forest specialist in Central Africa. Much bigger, Different ecology, different behaviors again.
Seeing them side by side really highlights what makes the bush pig unique.
It does. And coming back to that paternal care, the male protecting the young, that really stands out across the Suid family, it makes the bushpig a fascinating subject for studying how social behaviors evolve. Why did it develop in this lineage?
Yeah, a real evolutionary puzzle. It makes you appreciate the diversity within the pig family so much more. Okay, let's shift one last time. What about bush pigs in captivity? Zoos?
Well, the sources note they're actually quite rare in zoos compared to their flashy cousin, the red river hog.
The red ones are more eye-catching, I suppose.
Probably. But bush pigs do adapt reasonably well to captivity as long as they have enough space and, crucially, enrichment. Things to keep them occupied.
You see their natural behaviors in zoos. Wallowing, rooting.
Yes, good zoos will provide opportunities for wallowing and foraging, allowing those natural behaviors. They maintain social structures, too, and captive breeding happens year-round, if conditions are right.
And you can observe that paternal care in zoos, too.
Yes, captive males have also been seen protecting offspring, which confirms it's a real ingrained behavior and provides insights you might struggle to get consistently in the wild.
Are there challenges to keeping them in zoos?
There can be. Limited gene pools for captive breeding can be an issue, and they might have a lower conservation priority than critically endangered species, meaning fewer resources are allocated.
But I still offer value.
Definitely. What's fascinating here is that even with challenges, studies in captivity really add to our understanding of their intelligence and adaptability.
Like that surprising observation about them hunting poultry.
Exactly. That observation from captivity shows an opportunistic predatory side that might be harder to document in the wild. It underlines their flexibility. Proper management, enrichment, non-invasive handling, that's all vital for their welfare and for learning from them.
And these captive groups can help wild conservation.
They can inform monitoring strategies, contribute veterinary knowledge, and perhaps most importantly, raise public awareness about Suids and their conservation needs generally.
Okay, finally, let's touch on their place in human culture and folklore. It seems really complex.
Very complex, far more than just pest or food source. In many African cultures, they have multiple roles. Valued for meat and hides, yes.
But also feared for their aggression.
Feared, definitely, but also sometimes revered or respected.
And we mentioned the taboos, the Fedi in Madagascar and East Africa against eating pork.
A powerful, indirect conservation force stemming from cultural or religious belief. Not hunting them for food lets populations thrive in those areas.
And what about folklore? Stories?
Oh, there's a rich tapestry. They're often portrayed as clever, maybe cunning, definitely untamable, sometimes even supernatural.
Like spirits riding red river hogs.
Exactly. Those kinds of tales give them a mythical status, showing the awe they can inspire. And in Zimbabwe, the Shona clan uses the bush pig as its totem.
Symbolizing what?
Strength, resilience, a connection to the land, a symbol of positive attributes.
So these cultural views have real-world conservation impact.
Immense impact. Sacred taboos can deter poaching more effectively than laws in some cases. Cultural reverence can foster community-based stewardship. It's absolutely crucial to incorporate this traditional knowledge and these cultural values into modern conservation strategies.
So that harmonious coexistence.
Exactly. It proves conservation isn't just about biology, it's deeply about people and their relationship with nature.
Wow, what an incredible journey we've taken with this animal today. From that striking masked face and its surprising, sometimes controversial distribution.
Including being invasive on islands like Madagascar.
Right, to its incredible adaptability thriving from rainforests right up to Kilimanjaro. We looked at its nocturnal social life, that fascinating paternal care.
The sounders, their communication, how they manage territory.
We unpacked that incredibly broad diet, including the crop raiding that causes so much conflict.
And the whole life cycle, from those tiny striped piglets to the communal protection they get.
We faced their predators, understood their fierce defense mechanisms, and saw their vital ecological roles.
As seed dispersers, as prey, feeding those big carnivores.
So what does this all mean for us, the listeners, tying it all together from the sources?
It means the bush pig is so much more than just a pig. It's like a living case study of how interconnected everything is. Ecology, human society, conservation.
Its ability to survive, even thrive, in human-changed landscapes, while also being a major pest.
Its protection through ancient taboos. Its role as an invasive species. It all highlights how deeply our actions affect wildlife and how complex those interactions become. It shows every species, even one we might overlook, has a multifaceted story that tells us something important about life on this planet.
It certainly does.
And this raises, I think, an important final question for you to ponder. In a world where human development keeps pushing into natural habitats, can we truly find a balance? Can we meet the needs of farming and growing populations while also protecting and coexisting with adaptable, resilient species like the bushpig, especially when they occupy this gray area, sometimes native, sometimes invasive, sometimes a pest, sometimes culturally revered? How do we navigate that complexity?
A really challenging thought to leave us with. A true deep dive into an animal that's far more complex than meets the eye. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of the bushpig. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for tuning into this episode. If you enjoyed our content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell.